So if you're like me, when you're not out working or doing something else, the living room is probably where you're spending a majority of your time. It's where I relax, where I play video games, where I hang out with my significant other. It's just generally my comfort space at the end of the day. And while we do plan on making a ton of upgrades to the space throughout the year, today we're gonna be making a huge leap in the audio side of things with the Smart Ultra Soundbar by Bose. And I wanna give a huge thanks to them for also sponsoring this video. Now we're gonna go into all of the reasons that I really love this soundbar, even aside from the fact that this is a sponsored post. But the first thing I want to talk about is design. As this is something that's going to be sitting permanently open in your space, it's important that the soundbar not only sounds good, but also looks good. And there are quite a few design choices that Bose went with here that made me a huge fan of this soundbar. For us, we have a modest TV console with the bottom of the TV mounted just a few inches above the actual TV console itself. So having something that would slot nicely in between there was a must. And you can actually see here that the Smart Ultra soundbar fit perfectly in that space, and it really doesn't take up a big footprint at all, which I'm personally a huge fan of. With a length of 41 inches, this is supporting its 9 total drivers, including a center tweeter, racetrack drivers on either side, and you even have upward firing speakers at either end. The soundbar is also equipped with Dolby Atmos, which supports instruments, dialogue, and effects, and places them in different parts of a room for a truly immersive spatial experience. And for non-Dolby Atmos content, you have Bose's True Space technology, which works to send multi-directional sound around your room. The front of the bar features a wraparound metal grille with an impact-resistant glass on top, which I personally really like the look of. Setup for the soundbar is very straightforward. In the box, you get everything you need to get up and running, including a power cable, HDMI cable, remote, and a headset. Now, I set up the soundbar using one single HDMI cable into the eARC port, and that's it. You're up and running in a matter of seconds. And Bose does offer other options if your TV can't support this, but most modern day televisions do have an eARC port, so you should be fine. The remote for the soundbar has your basic functionalities, including volume, source buttons, and a play and pause and mute toggle. I also just like that it's compact and comfortable to hold and doesn't take up too much room. Now, aside from what you get in the box, the soundbar also comes with AirDrop, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.0, and even Google Assistant and Amazon Alexa capabilities, which is pretty great. The actual display for the soundbar is hidden nicely between the bar and the grill. It's basically a thin, one-dimensional LED display that communicates to you with various light colors and patterns, but once you get it down, it's pretty easy to understand. The soundbar control with the Bose app itself is pretty straightforward. Here you have access to your basic controls for the system, as well as the ability to toggle the AI dialogue mode on and off, which we'll touch on in a second. So before you actually start using the soundbar, it's recommended that you go through Bose's adaptive room correction procedure. And then the app and soundbar will go through this procedure where it essentially fine-tunes the soundbar to give you the best spatial results. All right, so the soundbar set up, we have our spatial correction done. How does the soundbar actually sound? Well, I wanted to start out with one of my favorite features on the new soundbar, and that's the AI dialogue mode. And yes, AI has made its way to a soundbar, but honestly, this is an incredible feature. So let me explain. You know how when you're watching a movie or a TV show with a lot of action going on and those scenes are really loud, but then when it comes to the dialogue, it can almost feel a bit quiet or muffled. So then you find yourself turning the volume down during the action scenes, but then back up during the dialogue scenes. And you kind of find yourself juggling with the remote the entire movie, and it just completely removes you from the experience. Well, the AI dialogue mode basically solves this issue because you're enhancing the dialogue in whatever you're watching without sacrificing any of the other surrounding sounds. And not only does it do a very good job of making the dialogue sound clear, it also does a great job of making it sound like it's actually still coming from the television and not from the bar itself, which I think is really important for immersion. I'm very much one of those people that likes to have the captions on when I'm watching because I don't want to miss any dialogue. And I've found that I don't even need them anymore. Now, aside from the AI dialogue, I'm sure you're just wondering how it sounds in general, because at the end of the day, that's the bottom line. Now, to be honest, when you're listening to things like music or a podcast, you're still going to have a very enjoyable experience overall. But of course, this isn't taking advantage of things like the True Space technology, so the experience you're gonna have is just a lot more casual. So what's cool about this soundbar is there's really two ways that you can get the best viewing experience. There's of course the traditional way, which is Dolby Atmos. Now, some streaming platforms, for example, have Dolby Atmos, as well as other content which you probably watch on a day-to-day basis. And then on top of that, you also have Bose's True Space technology. So True Space will take any content, regardless of how it was encoded into your equipment, and still deliver that Atmos quality or Atmos-like experience. Now, this is really exciting because I feel like a lot of soundbars are limited to really delivering the best experience with just Atmos content, but this way you get the best of both worlds. So all of these pieces of content, for example, can really take advantage of what Bose is offering here with their Smart Ultra soundbar. And for as small of a footprint as this thing holds, the actual sound is enormous. I found that it really does offer a wide soundstage, and it does a fantastic job of moving sound around the room and keeping you fully immersed. The bar is more than capable of giving that floor to ceiling experience, and you do still get a lot of height and immersion even when watching non-Atmos content. Now, all that being said, if you want to add more bass for an even bigger sound experience, that's where the bass module 700 would come into play. So for the bass module, out of the box, you get a power cable and of course the bass module itself, and that's it. And this is because the module actually works wirelessly with the whole system. Now, this is obviously great because you can put the bass module pretty much anywhere in your apartment or home, and you don't have to worry about any additional cables. Style-wise, you're getting the same minimalist design with the glass top, and again, I really like how this looks in the space. I feel like wherever you put it, it just blends really naturally in with everything else, which was really important to us because we didn't want it to necessarily feel like we had a home theater system in our apartment. And let me tell you, when you add the bass module alongside the soundbar, it takes everything to just a whole new level. Now, I do want to also quickly touch on the rear speakers because this is a home theater system at the end of the day. In the box, you're of course getting the speakers themselves alongside wireless receivers, bass stands, 2 speaker cables, 2 power cords, and even a screwdriver should you need it. And one thing I really do like about these speakers is just how tiny they are. Again, for us, the more they blended into the surrounding space, the better. And because of just how small these speakers are, it was very easy to put them on a shelf and have them still pretty hidden. Now, that being said, if you still really want to have that home theater experience but don't have a convenient place to put rear speakers, Bose still does offer stands for the speakers as well. So you can always get those, put them behind your couch. They're a little less discreet, but you get the full effect, and if that's what you're going for, then these are perfect. I do think it's quickly important to note that you can mix and match wireless bass module and soundbar models. So all of the Smart Ultra soundbar and bass module and speaker modules use the same wireless protocol. That being said, the biggest note here is the design language on these models are meant to complement each other. So if you use other models, it's fine. It just might not look the best. But like if you desire more bass, for example, you can connect 2 wireless bass modules to the soundbar. Okay, so you've added the bass module, you've added the home speakers. It's pretty safe to say that now you have a fantastic sounding home theater system. At least in my apartment, I truly never experienced the effect of a full surround sound system, and now I'm 100% sold. It just makes viewing content that much more enjoyable and that much more immersive. But all this being said, we live in a smaller apartment and we do have neighbors. So at the end of the day, like I said, the soundbar itself performed exceptionally well. So I think if you just need to get up and running with a good sound system, that is more than enough. Okay, so we've talked about the AI dialogue mode, we've talked about the sound overall, but now I just want to talk about a few other little features and tweaks that I found myself using to get the most out of the soundbar. So first, while the soundbar does sound great out of the box, I went ahead into the Bose app and customized it even more to my preference based on our living room setup. This included things like raising the height channel as well as the bass, just a few tweaks here and there, nothing drastic, but I feel like it just got that much more out of the soundbar for our current space. Side note, the heat has been going on and off this entire time, so sorry if you guys can hear that. I just realized that. Anyway, definitely encourage you to play with this setting. It's going to be different for everyone's scenario, but it really does make a difference. Now, as we work to make our apartment more of a smart apartment, I also went ahead and turned on Amazon Alexa, which honestly came in handy a lot more than I thought it was going to. It's just nice being able to ask about measurement when you're baking, or the weather, or even just answering general questions. But I think the biggest thing is the fact that it's actually just built into the soundbar and you don't have to get a whole separate device. So I like the fact that it's just hidden and out of sight. Now, there's another feature that I didn't touch on earlier, and that's Simple Sync. And it's a feature on the Bose app that I've found myself using a lot. So this partnership aside, I've been a Bose QC headphone user for probably 6 years now. And so the fact that I can simply switch from listening to things on my soundbar straight to my headphones whenever I need to is an awesome feature. My significant other goes to bed way earlier than I do. So the fact that if I'm watching a show or a movie or just playing games and I can just grab my headphones and keep doing whatever I was doing is a game changer. Okay, so then aside from features, there are also just a ton of ways that I've really enjoyed having the Smart Ultra soundbar in our space. For example, I don't know about you, but usually for me, kind of my escape from everything going on is watching movies or content. And I don't really normally think about the type of audio quality that's coming out of my TV and how that affects me consuming that content. but it turns out it makes a big difference when the audio quality is significantly better. I've just found myself enjoying that escape time a little bit more. Same goes for things like playing video games. Even if it's just casual gaming, usually the TV audio wasn't quite the best, so I found myself using headphones for everything. But now, if I'm just chilling on the couch playing a single player game, I'm using the soundbar. And then of course, can't forget about the movie date nights. Either that, or I feel like my significant other and I always have like one of our shows that we're watching, and I feel like having the soundbar and just having better audio quality overall has really improved that experience too. Yes, it turns out audio is important. So we've talked through a ton of information in this video, and of course I am always more than happy to answer any questions you all have down in the comments after this video is done. While we're moving into an era where I feel like AI is more of a buzzword than anything, I think the Bose Smart Ultra soundbar is a perfect example of AI being implemented in a useful way. The soundbar has arguably the best dialogue clarity that I've ever heard. It's easy to set up, it has a very solid, spacious sound, and overall, I really like the look of it. I think you should definitely take the Bose Smart Ultra soundbar into consideration, as it really offers one of the best all-in-one sound experiences that I've tested.